and welcome to Home in a Rearview Mirror. With the Blunts, I'm Mike. This is Gail.
And Miss Bella.
And Miss Bella Boo. We purchased a fifth wheel about 2 years ago and a 1-ton truck to pull it with, and decided to set out and see a lot of things around this country that we had never seen before. So we thought it a good idea to just share some of that with you guys, and in case you want to see some of this stuff, well, now you've got an idea of what it's all about. So the first installment is going to be Yuma Territorial Prison, and Gail has a couple things to say.
Okay, Yuma Territorial Prison is the #1 site to see in Yuma. And the need to know before you go. The cost for adults is $10, seniors $8, children 7 to 13 $5, children 0 to 6 free. There are no pets allowed, and there are restrooms in the museum.
So we'll do this tour right after this.
Hey you, how about some water over here? It is so dog darn hot in here. My name is William H. Liston. People know me
here. One of these days, we'll give back the time we borrowed. One of these nights, I won't worry about tomorrow.
You will enter through the visitor center, and after you go through there and pay, then you'll end up in a courtyard, and you end up on this gravel walk, and this will take you around toward what they consider the sally port, or the entrance to the prison, which is on the right hand side, that archway that you see on the right. We're going to go to the guard tower first, which interestingly was built on top of a large water tank, and that water tank served the prison needs. They built it on the tank to prevent evaporation from the hot summers in the desert. The Gatling gun that is inside of the museum was actually mounted up here to prevent the prisoners from escaping. There were several escapees over the years, and there were many that didn't make it. So the storyboards are interesting. They're definitely worth stopping to read. It's quite a view from up there. You can see the prison. You can see the area all around. It's fairly high.
Okay, now we're going to go down the stairs, and as you can see, we're going towards the sally port, which is the entrance of the actual, the main gate. This particular main gate, sally port, has actually been seen in a lot of westerns. Now you're going to pass through here and into the other side of the courtyard towards the prison museum. As you go into the museum, they have it full of all kinds of pictures and several artifacts. And they also have a video, which you probably want to watch first. Kind of gives meaning to everything that you see in here.
And the storyboards on the wall are definitely worth stopping and reading. Some of the prisoners were unbelievable in what they did when they were there, and all of the women prisoners, you wouldn't believe how many of those. I think there was 29 women prisoners.
And here's the Gatling gun that we spoke of earlier. It's pretty ominous looking. Pretty sure I wouldn't be trying to escape with that thing up there. And more of the artifacts. And then what you're going to see here is an actual model of the prison that was built. Kind of gives you a perspective of the way it looked back then.
And a portion of this prison was actually lost due to the railroad and other construction in the area, but they managed to save this part, which is good.
Now you're going further down where you'll see a lot more of the pictures and stories on the wall. These are the ones of the women prisoners. And then, of course, you have the little mugshot thing where you can actually sit down and get your mugshot done.
This is the lady that, well, you just need to read it. There's some interesting prisoners that were at this prison, and they did some crazy stuff. So here's some of the weapons that were used by the guards. And here is a layout of a lot of the women that were here as prisoners. Interestingly, there were people in prison for adultery and things like that back then, which, if that was the case today, we couldn't have big enough prisons.
Yeah, it ranged from murder, polygamy, grand larceny. Okay, now you're going to walk out of the museum and into the cell block area. And this, of course, is where you see the cells in which the prisoners were housed.
Each cell had 6 bunks in them, and they're not very big cells. And you can't even imagine the heat in those places in the summertime. And you had 6 prisoners in each cell, and 1 bucket to use for a restroom.
No, and I guess the sad part is they actually made the prisoners build their own cells when they first built this prison.
They used the prisoners as labor to build the prison itself, which is kind of interesting in itself. But yeah, you would not want to. You would not want to be there in that prison.
No, they actually called it the hellhole because of the heat and bad conditions.
They had to change the bunk beds to steel because the wooden bunk beds would mold and cause a lot of health issues, so they had to take those out and build them out of steel.
Okay, now you're going to actually walk into the prison yard. And then out there you're going to see the dark room.
The dark cell was for all of those prisoners that would not do as they were told or cause problems. And back in this cell, there were steel cages that the prisoners would be locked into. The doors were shut to where there was no light whatsoever except for one air hole at the top where a pipe came down, and sometimes the prisoners or the guards would throw scorpions and snakes down the air passage at the prisoners. This part right here is a new part of the prison that was built, and it was used for the tuberculosis prisoners that were sick. Consumption was a big deal back then, and there was a lot of it, and so they would house all them back here away from the other prisoners.
All in all, we enjoyed the tour, and it did feel like it was definitely worth the price of entrance.
So we hope you enjoyed your tour through the prison.
And if you'd like to follow us on more of our adventures, please subscribe and hit that like button.
Bye-bye for now.